He ended up taking all of my braid off, throwing away my expensive braid, and I was like, dude, I didn't know that. Too late now, I have to pay you $100 to put this line on there. I am so sick of going into a tackle shop, spending all my money, and using half the gear that I actually buy. Today, I'm going to be exposing tackle shop traps that you shouldn't fall for, and I'll also be talking about the gear that is essential that you actually do need. So let's get into it. So I'm sure everyone has gone through something like this. You're in a new location, you're going into a tackle shop, there's just so much beautiful candy everywhere, and you want to buy everything. But you're only here for one thing, to get the things that you need to catch the fish. Now it's really tough because there's a psychology behind tackle shops. They want you to buy the whole entire store. And if you walk in there as a beginner and you don't know what you're doing, the sales associates, they can smell it. And they know right away that they're going to try and sell you as much as possible. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're a beginner and you don't want to spend all of your money, we're going to be talking about things that you could probably avoid and things that you probably will need for the field. And it's a lot more simple than you actually think. So I've been to tackle shops all over the world, and I love going to them. They're really fun. It's a great way to get a taste of the local fishing culture, see what the locals are using. It's just fun. I love it. Sometimes they're really helpful. Other times they're not so helpful. And the sales associate will recommend tons of things that I actually don't end up using. And I feel like I don't appreciate it when I go into a shop, they give me confidence in all these different things. I spend $100+ when I was really just trying to get some live bait. And I end up not using any of that gear. It just sits in my boxes and boxes of stuff that I haven't touched. It's more of a collection now at this point. But if you like to collect lots of little trinkets and lures and lots of little things, by all means, go ahead and do that. I do that as well myself. I have boxes and boxes full of these things, and they're fun to look through sometimes, but I don't end up actually using them. But if you're just a beginner and you're trying to go into a shop, get some advice, get the things that you need just to catch fish, this video is for you. I'm just trying to help people save a little bit of money and let them know what are the core essentials that you actually need to buy at a tackle shop versus things that are kind of fluffy and you don't really need to buy them. They're fun to have and collect, but you probably don't need all of this different gear. So today we're going to be going over some stuff that tackle shop associates have tried to sell me that I don't think I actually really even needed. But first, I'd like to go over the psychology of it all. Tackle shops are running because they need to make money, right? So they're trying to sell you as much as possible. These same sales associates that are helping you tell you the fishing report, the different tides, where to go, they know that you are feeling maybe a little overwhelmed, maybe a little confused, and they prey on that. They know, they can feel it, they can smell it. They prey on the fear of missing out element. But the reality is, fish don't really care about all the bells and whistles of things. They really only care about three things: food, presentation, and smell. Now, when you go into a tackle shop, when you buy things, you get a dopamine hit, meaning you get really happy. And it feels good to buy all these things here, there, here, there. I feel great because I just bought everything that I need to catch fish. But half the time, most of that stuff you didn't actually even really need. Now, shops know all of this, and they're going to continue to push new products to you, and products that they're trying to get off the shelves. And they'll say stuff like, you definitely need this lure, I can't keep it off the shelves. Locals keep coming back, and they'll tell you stories about how people are catching lots of fish, and there's lots of pictures to back it up, but you never actually get to see the pictures, and the lure itself is $20. No one really needs that, especially not if you're a beginner and you just want to get on fish. So let's get into these different traps that we all fall into. Trap number one is that you need premium line. Premium line. I feel like when I first started fishing, I went to a place in upstate New York where I didn't know how to catch the fish there, but I did bring a rod and reel. I went to a really nice local tackle shop that everyone raves about. And I asked a sales associate, hey, can you help get me set up? I don't know what I need to buy for the fishing here. I've never been here before. And he must have smelled my fear because I ended up spending $200+ on when I thought I was just going to go in there, get some live bait, get some lures, maybe spend like $25, $30. I ended up spending $200+. And the first thing he said is, he took a look at my reel, which was a nice reel. It was full of braid, which is expensive on its own. And he said, you're going to need to remove all of that braid. We're going to put all fluorocarbon on your spool. Now, if you don't know what fluorocarbon is, it's the most expensive line out there. And I really only ever use it as a leader line, just so that the fish can't see the line. Fluorocarbon's good, but monofilament works just fine as well. Especially if you're a beginner, I really don't feel like you need fluorocarbon line. That's a whole nother conversation on its own. Back to my story. He ended up taking all of my braid off, throwing away my expensive braid, re-spooling it, the entire thing with 200 yards of fluorocarbon, which was $50 on its own. So my braid on there, thrown away, gone. New line, $50 of fluorocarbon. I've never even heard, to this day, I still have never even heard of having to fill your entire spool with fluorocarbon line. So, premium line, you don't need it. You're fine with braid and a leader line. You don't need the most premium line ever. If you're just getting started, just start with the basics. And another thing that I've bought line before from tackle shops. The tackle shop insists that they have a special spooler to put the line on it for me. I thought, oh great, yeah, if I'm buying the line, you can put the line on it for me too. That's great. But by the end of it, it was like $100 just to put the line on my spool, because it's a state-of-the-art spooler, and that only 3 shops in the entire United States have this line spooler. And I was like, dude, I didn't know that. It's too late now. I have to pay you $100 to put this line on there. But you can put the line on yourself. You don't need anyone to put the line on for you. I'm sure there are benefits. Like if you're more advanced and you want a really tight spool and fit like extra line on there, then yeah. But if you're just a beginner, skip this step. Trap number 2. Buying their 10-month-old frozen dead baits that have been sitting in the freezer forever because they couldn't sell it when they were alive. So usually when I go to a tackle shop or a bait shop, my primary focus is just to get the local fresh live bait or fresh frozen bait. And the important part is getting it local and alive. Sometimes when I go to a tackle shop, I'll buy the live bait and they'll say, oh, but the snook, they're hitting on these frozen dead mullets or frozen dead ladyfish. They'll insist that, oh, it works really well. Fishermen have been killing it using this. We can't keep it in stock. Yeah, right. That's just not true. The reality of that is they have a ton of extra bait that have died or died during transportation. What they want to do with it, instead of throwing it away, is maximize on those sales. So they'll freeze it, they'll keep it in the freezer, and hey, sometimes it's great bait because it's actually really fresh, dead local bait. But other times, you take a look at it, and this thing looks like frozen, like freezer burnt. It looks disgusting. It does not look like a fish would even want to eat it. So, in my opinion, frozen baits, they have their place. But make sure it's fresh frozen. Fresh, dead, frozen. If it's in like a pre-packaged, vacuum sealed thing that like, it's like mass produced, stuff like you'll find in like Walmart and stuff like that, I'd say skip out on that. Don't buy those frozen baits. Instead, opt for the freshest dead bait that you can find. If it's fresh dead and then frozen, fine. If it's fresh dead and then refrigerated, even better. But the best option is to get live bait that's swimming around, the water looks clean, and you have an aerator with a bucket. That's the best way to have live bait. And live bait is one of the #1 things that I'm getting every time I go to a tackle shop. And this is just the kind of fisherman that I am. I love using bait because it almost always works, but it has to be fresh. Trap number 3. When a sales associate is trying to sell you the local lure that everyone uses, and you'll need it in every color for every different fishing situations, and every weight size for every different water situations, dude, that will rack up so fast. You really only need a couple of simple colors and a couple of sizes. You really don't need every single color, every single size. Fish don't care about the colors so much. And just because the water's murky doesn't mean that you need 5 different colors. Just pick 2. My favorites, white, blue, pink, those are all ones that have been catching me fish in any color water, no problem. Okay, so like, for instance, when I go to like South Florida, everyone uses what's called a flare hawk, and I think flare hawks work phenomenally, but they're expensive, and they say you need all these different sizes because depending on how fast the water's moving. So I end up buying 5 flare hawks in 2 different colors and 3 different sizes. So I'm buying 15 flare hawks, and I'll catch most of my snook on 1 or 2 of them. Maybe I'll get stuck and I'll lose 2 flare hawks, but I never even use the other colors, and I never even use those really high weight sinkers or low weight sinkers. Finding a happy medium and just picking a couple of those usually ends up working out well for me. Ask the associate, what are the most common weights? If I had to pick 2, limit it down to 2 weights. When we went up to Cape Cod and up north in New York, poppers are a big thing, and topwater plugs, subsurface plugs, those are a big thing. I ended up going down a big rabbit hole of buying tons of different poppers and lures. Look. Ugh. Jesus Christ. This is a Gibbs popper. I think they're like 20 bucks each. I love using it. This is fantastic. This is another popper. It's a pencil popper. It's a different kind of popper. It moves side to side. This one moves like this, right? I ended up buying like 5 or 6 different colors of each in different sizes, and this is the only one that really caught me a ton of fish. This Gibbs popper, you can tell how beat up it is, caught tons of fish on this. I didn't need all those other poppers. Now, it's great because I have this whole wall, this huge collection of poppers here that I can look at and not catch fish on. I'm not saying that these don't work. They all work. They all work really well. But maybe don't splurge on the most expensive ones and buy tons of them. Just get a basic one. You don't have to have a name brand. Most of the time, name brand is the one that's going to be the most expensive, but works very similarly to a knockoff or a generic. And this goes with all lures, right? Not just poppers, but paddle tails, subsurface swim baits. Pick one of those that work, stick with that. You don't need every single kind of lure. Just pick 1 or 2 highly successful ones. And my recommendation for that is paddle tails. They almost always work everywhere I go, and they're just as simple as it gets. Just a jig head and a paddle tail, and it works fantastic. The easiest one to use, it's just a little fish that can, if you let it sink, it goes down to the bottom, you just reel it in. That paddle tail moves water, and fish like that presentation. They can feel it. They can feel it, and they can see it move by fast. It's an easy one to use. You don't have to give it too much action. It kind of gives its own action as you reel it in. Whereas some other lures, like jerkbaits, you have to give it action. You have to move it, and that's a lot harder. So start with something simple like paddle tails, and once you get that and you're ready to start something else, start something else. So between bait and lures, it's a toss-up. Just pick one and try it. But going out with bait and lures could be kind of difficult and overwhelming. I say pick one thing and stick with it. Bait and lures, they have their pros and cons for each of them. Bait is good for if you want to just cast it out, sit and wait. If you want to pitch it to fish that you see, that's a great way of catching fish. Whereas lures is like, you have to give it some more action. You have to like actively walk around and try and find fish. It's a little bit more difficult. Whereas a live bait, it has the smell and it has the movement already. So all you really need to do is get it out there and it'll do the work itself. I like to stick with bait, but if you want to start lures, it's a great thing to start as well. Start with the paddle tail. Trap number 4. I'm sure some of you guys have heard of this. Those magic scent attractants that you spray onto your live bait or your lures. I feel like they might work, but you really don't need it at all. And adding this $5-10 attractant is just kind of unnecessary in my opinion. If you have good live bait, you definitely don't need it. You don't ever need to put it on dead bait. If you have good lures, like a paddle tail, there's enough action on the paddle tail that you're getting a reaction strike out of this fish, not out of smell. It's like when you throw a ball next to a dog, the dog will just instinctually chase the ball and grab the ball, right? That's how it is with lure fishing. When you're casting this lure out and you're bringing it in, the fish sees it and grabs it. So let me ask you this. If you put peanut butter all over that ball and you threw the ball, would it get the dog to attack it faster? You could just throw the ball and the dog would chase the ball either way. You don't really need that attractant. Maybe when the fish are really picky and really finicky, that might add a little bit of an edge. But I think if you're just starting, unnecessary. Trap number 5, hooks. So there's a million kinds of hooks out there, and it can be very, very confusing when you're first starting. Try not to be so confused. You only really need a few kinds of hooks, and you don't need it in every single size, because at the end of the day, it's just a piece of metal with a hook on the end and a barb to hook a fish. Tackle shops will try and say you need it in every size, in different thicknesses. Not in my opinion. Different hooks have different places in fishing when you're getting more specialized in the kind of fishing that you want to do. But if you're just starting out, there's really only a couple of hooks that you'll ever really need. Circle hooks, and circle hooks are hooks that circle inwards, so when a fish bites it and runs away with it, it'll set itself. And J hooks. Basically, it's just a J-shaped hook, and when a fish bites it, you set the hook. So the two different kinds of hooks that I think are most important for a beginner or someone who's just getting into fishing are circle hooks, which fish set themselves as they run, so you don't set the hook, and then J hooks, which you do set the hook. There's lots of different kinds of each, but if you just stick with a circle hook and a J hook, you'll be good. In terms of size of the hook, the bigger your hook, the less likely you're gonna, and this is a generalization, the bigger the hook, the less fish you'll probably catch because you're targeting one big fish, versus the smaller the hook, the more opportunity you have to catch fish. But when your hook is too small and you end up hooking something really big, then you risk losing the fish. So something in between, which I think is a 1/0 or a 2/0 sized hook, works for big fish, small fish, and everything in between. I typically use those size hooks for all kinds of fishing. I can use a size 1/0 hook and catch smaller game fish like this, but that same size hook, I can catch really big fish on it. So stick to those two different size hooks and you should be good. So there are some certain brands of hooks that are really sharp, really good, made in Japan, fantastic. They're so sharp that when you don't have to set the hook as hard, they penetrate the fish's mouth quicker. Those, I think, are more for specialized when you actually get better at fishing. At first, when you start fishing, you're probably going to lose a lot of hooks. You're probably going to snag a lot of things that you're not trying to fish for. So brands like Owner, BKK, these hooks are fantastic. They're really sharp, but they come with a price tag. I don't think you should get right into that. If you're trying to save some money, it's okay to just stick with something like Eagle Claw or like a lower end, less expensive hook. It's the same idea. So those are just 5 common things that I see tackle shop associates trying to get push onto me all the time, and I'm sure it happens to lots of other people out there who are just trying to find out where the fish are and how to catch them. Comment below if I'm missing anything. What are some other things that you feel like you keep buying but just not catching anything on it, and like you really feel like you're wasting your money on? That being said, let's talk about things that you should get that really is like kind of like the essentials of what you need. I think it can be very minimal. You really don't need too much. When you're going into a tackle shop, you really only need to get these few things. First off, make sure you have a good rod and reel. A decent one. You don't need the most expensive one, but you also don't want to get the absolute cheapest one because, you know, sometimes those really cheap ones are actually super bad. And when you're using such a bad setup, it just doesn't feel good. And sometimes you're using these really bad reels and rods and it just feels like, is this thing gonna break on me? Or is this thing even gonna work? You want to have a little bit of confidence in your gear, so I say stick to mid-range. This is going to be probably your biggest first initial investment, is a good rod and reel combo. I don't know about you guys, but I like to fish the beach a lot. I like to fish the inshore a lot, and there's a good hybrid in between for both of them. I say about 8 foot, 9 foot, medium heavy rod. That is perfect for lots of different kinds of fishing. So you don't need a rod for every single situation. Just get one rod, 2 rods for just a hybrid of situations. This rod itself should cast between 1 to 3 ounces so that you can hit the surf, but you can also fish inshore as well. This rod also should have a reel that I recommend is going to be maybe like a 4,000 or 5,000 sized Shimano reel. You're going to want to spool that up with 15 to 20 pound line. And this is my setup for almost every kind of fishing that I do. Sometimes I'll go lighter, sometimes I'll go heavier if I know that there's a lot of rocks around, but don't think about all that right now. Just focus on getting this hybrid rod that will work in many different situations. I say a 9-foot rod that's medium heavy, fast action, and a reel that's spooled with 15 to 20 pound braid. It doesn't matter what brand braid, just get that on there. And then get the fluorocarbon line, put the fluorocarbon line on the leader, and that's all you really need. Next, make sure you have some rigs two rigs that you really need are either Carolina fish finder rig or a high-low rig. Those are the only two you really ever need as a beginner to just start catching fish. And if you don't want to do the bait route, just get some paddle tails. Those are really easy ways to start. Don't start with something complicated. Don't start with something flashy and fancy. These are all proven methods that have been working for a really long time. Just stick with those things. So with the high-low rigs, if you don't know how to tie them, just get it pre-tied. A lot of times it saves you a bunch of time, and if you aren't able to go fishing all the time and you don't have time to tie up your own rigs and learn how to do all that, just get pre-tied rigs. Pre-tied rigs are great. You can just tie it on, put a sinker on, cast it out, and you'll just start catching fish. A lot of times it's overwhelming as a beginner to have to learn all these different things when really you just want to catch your first fish, get your first bit of excitement, and continue getting back into the game of fishing. Sinker wise, you can get pyramid sinkers, Sputnik sinkers, and egg sinkers. Those are the only three I really use. And you never really need to use like 6 or 7 ounces. That's just way too much. The most I use are 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce. Everything else is more specialized. If you're having to throw 6 or 7 ounces, you're fishing in the wrong place. It's not a great place for beginners to learn how to fish. From there, all you actually really need is good bait. Avoid those frozen dead baits that have been sitting in the freezer for a really long time. You want fresh bait. Fresh local bait that's alive is my #1 thing to get. So once you're prepared at home with your rigs and your rod and your reels all spooled up, the only thing you'll really need to buy when you go to a tackle shop is live bait. And that's the simplest way of putting everything. You don't need to go in there and shop and buy the whole store. What you only really need in there, and just have this goal in your mind, is when I go in there, I'm just going to get live bait and I'm out of there. That's pretty much it. Bring your paddle tails if you want to do lures, but there's really not much to it. Besides that, just get like a tackle box, just something that you can throw all of your stuff in. We have these waterproof boxes that they don't have organizers, but a lot of times I don't even use the organizers. I just like having it in a box and I just pull it out. I can even put my phone into the box too, and this is waterproof. This works really well, but other than that, a bucket works too. Just bring a bucket. It's just a little heavier, it's bulkier. This fits right in my backpack. Love this. Just remember, guys, when you go into a tackle shop to get your live bait, you might get a little overwhelmed and confused. Just go in with a goal in mind, know what you're gonna get what you need, and get out of there. Because it's a money trap. I'm telling you right now, I've fallen for it many times, and I still fall for it to this day. And I don't wanna give any hate to tackle shops. I love them. It's fun for me. It's like a candy shop. But half the stuff that I buy, I don't end up using. But still, it's fun for me to use and try new lures. And that's the funnest part about fishing for me, is trying all these different methods. It's really fun because I'm good at catching fish in a certain way already. It's fun to expand your horizon and just keep evolving as a fisherman. But if you're just beginning, don't try and do it all at the same time. Just pick one method, stick with that, get some success, bring some fish home, feed the family, and be happy for now. Because it's a long rabbit hole of buying new gear, trying it. I didn't like this, I like this, I'm gonna stop buying this, I'm gonna start buying this. That's the fun part about fishing. Trust me, guys, I've been where you are many times before. That's why in my own store, everything that I use, all the products that I have in my store, are just cut down to the bare essentials, the things that you need to catch fish, and just get right on them. And that's why we started this channel. We just want to help people simplify things and make it easy for people like you and your family to go out there, catch fish, have fun. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was helpful and informative to you. Comment below if there's anything I was missing. We do a video like this every single Thursday, mostly fishing, but I feel like I really needed to sit down and talk to you guys about this part. Yeah, I'm about to go fishing. See you guys next week.